Welcome to today's edition of E15, TVC's countdown to the general elections. Here, a team of journalists critically examine burning issues concerning the forthcoming elections. I am Ayodele Ozubakun. It is 16 days to go. The All Progressive Congress presidential candidate, General Muhammadu Buhari, has said he won't probe all past government if he's elected as Nigeria president. Meanwhile, the former military head of state, General Ibrahim Babangida, has debunked rumors of his support for an interim national government rather than Buhari emerging as the next president, saying he will never be part of it. President Goodluck Jonathan continued his meeting with major stakeholders in the polity on Wednesday as he met with former defense minister, General T.Y. Danjuma, and he is presently in a meeting with the Awujale and paramount ruler of Ijebuland, Obasikiru Kayode Adetono, in his palace in Ijebu-Ode, Ogun State. These are the issues we shall be looking at on today's program. But before then, let's take a break. When I return, you'll meet my guest.
Join us for a one-on-one interview with seasoned journalist Babafemi Ojudu.
In the course of your work, you've been arrested, tortured, detained, and all that. Are all those periods when, those things were happening, what kept you together? And, how did you, get the strength to forge ahead in your career?
You know one thing, at the age of 27, I don't know what went to my head. I just thought to myself, I said, with what I'm doing now, I could get killed. I started writing my will. So I can say that I conquered the fear of death at the age of 27. So whenever I'm picked up, I always feel it could be the last.
On the Sunday interview, showing this Sunday, March 15, 2015, at 12:30 p.m., 5 p.m. and 9:30 p.m.
For 4 years in the Senate, let me first ask how you felt, when you defeated, the current governor, Ayodele Fayose, in clinching the senatorial seat.
We had a debate. Debate was organized by the Broadcasting Corporation of the state, television, radio, and all that. When I walked into the studio, I wore my traditional attire, my cap, and everything. And he walked in, a jeans and a T-shirt, and I saw something written on his chest. Politics is a serious business, and I could see that the spelling of politics was wrong. I knew I got this guy today. I want to call your attention to something today. Could you please, all of our people at home watching us, put your attention on the chest of my co-contest. I said, I'm disappointed that somebody who has been my governor, who wanted to go and represent us in the Senate, could wear this to the studio. The man could not even spell politics. I think it's a shame. And that, what will I tell my 10-year-old daughter when I get home? That my former governor, who wanted to go and represent the Senate, could not spell politics. The man then had his hand on his chest. I ran out of the studio.
Watch the exclusive interview on TVC News Nigeria on Concert Channel 190.
Welcome back. 16 days to the 2015 general elections. I have in the studio Haruna Habib.
Good evening, Ayo. And good evening, viewers.
By popular demand.
Haruna Habib is back on the show. Eshaun Modu.
I have a pleasure being here.
And Babajide Otudoju.
Good evening, viewers. It's my pleasure as usual.
Jide, let me start from you. Count me out of an interim government, General Babangida. Do you want to shed light into several times? They've always been raising this issue of interim government, and the government, federal government, and all the stakeholders, they've been debunking it and denouncing it. That no, even the Attorney General at a point in time said it's not in the Nigerian Constitution, and the president even went as far as saying that anybody calling for this is an act of treason.
Yes, we live in very unusual times, and for that reason, whatever people come up with, naturally, it will be difficult, if not risky, to just dismiss by a wave of the hand. I've seen many things happen these last few weeks that I couldn't, in my wildest imagination, I've expected to happen. I'll give the example of the APC deputy governorship candidate in Abia State. A few weeks to election, you are defecting. You are the candidate. You are on the ballot for your party. and then you are defecting at this time.
That's very strong.
It's not just strong, it's strange. Because let me tell you, there's nowhere else in the world, and I'm not exaggerating, because I've followed international politics for some time. There's nowhere else in the world where this will happen. You are, before
not an aspirant,
look,
a candidate.
He rubbished the confidence reposed in him, you know, in picking him to be the deputy governorship candidate of the party by defecting at such an odd hour. Look, even at that point, what you are expecting, naturally you are looking forward to the election. Even if you felt you cannot win this election, the honor done you by placing you on that ballot should be enough. It just shows the mercantilist tendencies of Nigerian politicians. Because it just felt, oh, these people, I don't think they will win. Therefore, let me, well, you are the deputy governorship candidate for crying out loud. That's strange.
Of a major political party.
Of a major political party. That's strange. It's really, really strange, Ayo. It's strange. Now.
So you can't put out anything now?
No. Don't put anything beyond the Nigerian politician. Don't take that risk. Don't put anything beyond the Nigerian politician. I always say that I do not believe in conspiracy theories. But certain things have been happening, you know, that make me sometimes ask myself that, what is really happening? What is wrong with us as a people? So when people come up with such stories that, oh, these people are planning to do this, these people want to do this, what I will only advise is for people to exercise caution. Don't dismiss anything.
There's no
just by the sleight of the hand. Don't dismiss, because it may just happen. Look, in 1993, we never expected that someone who annulled the election. Abiola was the best businessman friend of the person who eventually annulled the election. The person who annulled the election invited him to come and contest because he wanted to give his transition program some measure of credibility. He invited Abiola, but he eventually annulled the election, went for the interim national government, and invariably his friend, his long-term friend, died while trying to actualize his mandate. So if people are looking in his direction, look, it is because Babangida is naturally a fence-sitter. He has not come out openly to say, look, I want to support Buhari. If he appears to endorse Buhari today, tomorrow, the next day you see him even using words that suggest that his heart is more with Goodluck Jonathan than with IBB. And then after that, he will now endorse Jonathan again, making it 2-1. So in such a situation, people will think that, well, this guy, maybe he has something up his sleeves. And if these people are not willing to give power to this man that they fear so much, maybe there is an escape route. Because the reality is that many of the parasitic Nigerian elite, the rich men, people of considerable means in our land, they don't like Buhari. I've said it here before because I know it. They don't like Buhari. So you never can tell what they are planning. That's why I will say that, well, let's not dismiss.
Ashomama, should we be talking about ING when we are yet to have our election? Who is working against the success of this democracy?
Just like Jide said, Nigerian politicians are capable of doing anything. And I also think that, anybody can push whatever they feel like to the public space just for them to score their point. But I think Nigerians have also resolved on their minds that, look, for this election, we stand. And no matter what anybody wants to push out, I don't think anything will remove the reality of March 28. The people want to
hold
vote.
The election and
the people want to vote.
And the winner must emerge.
I think that is the most important thing. The people have made up their mind to hold the election on March 28. And whoever is not bigger than Nigeria, they might be powerful, but they are not bigger than Nigeria. But they are not bigger than Nigerians. And since Nigerians have spoken with one voice, we want election on March 28, whichever way it will go. I think that is the most important thing. nobody will come to bring their own selfish option.
So we don't have a situation whereby people are saying instead of handing over power to General Buhari, we would rather go for an interim government.
There is a process, and the process is every political party push out their candidates. Now the APC pushed out its own candidate, the PDP pushed out its own candidate. And you allow the people decide at the end of the day, not saying that if it's this person, we're not going to agree.
A winner must emerge.
A winner must emerge, and it's not those who are behind the scene, probably trying to scheme whichever because of their selfish interests. And I think the Nigerian people will resist them at the end of the day. It won't materialize. March 28 is the date. Nigerians will decide, and we'll have a president emerge on March 28.
Abi, what's your take on this?
The worry, based on what the Shemama said and what they said, the word is caution. The idea of interim government.
Caution and vigilance.
Absolutely. The word interim government, the issue was raised by Obasanjo. Don't forget. When he came back from abroad and he said there are moves for the interim government. Obasanjo doesn't want to get it out as a general. But you see, what the contest here is Babangida coming out yesterday boldly to say, I'm not involved in interim government, I'm part of it. Nigerians should decide March 28. That's what he said yesterday. But you see, the issue here is for us to be more careful. Ejimoma spoke very well. Yes, an ideal situation. But Nigeria is never an ideal situation. There are some people behind the curtain. They want to put the strings. There's this saying in Nigerian politics that if you aspire to be president, you don't get there. That's the history. Yeah, that's a Chikwa history. If you aspire to be there, you don't get there. The part that you make sure that you don't get there.
Had the reluctant rulers.
You don't get there. So the idea of being afraid of Buhari here, and that's why I want to connect what the Shemama said. Nigerians, you see, the power brokers too, Babangida, Danjuma, Obasanjo and co. They also are aware that the people are resolute this time around. I mean, they didn't have to be contesting at Buhari now. They'll be contesting.
This is the fourth time.
And for the first time, there is that feeling that this man is on the verge of defeating an incumbent president. So people who are now looking at that idea of interim government, don't forget that when the issue was raised, there are speculations that Babangida was involved in this interim arrangement. And yesterday he came out to say, I'm not involved. I said something very instructive, that I'm in favor of the candidate. He said so yesterday, very explicit, that the candidate should be used, that there's no perfect election anywhere, and that Nigeria should begin to look for a process that will make our electoral process more credible. So I think Babangida coming out to me, I don't see that as a minus, I see it as a plus for the process. And I was telling Moji yesterday, more of those people will be coming out in the days ahead before the elections.
Today, I won't probe past leaders. Buhari. Is he learning from his past mistakes?
This is not the first time that he has said this. But politicians don't put all their cards on the table. Because I will be personally disappointed were Buhari to say, oh, it is only acts of corruption that happened during my time in office that I will probe. He has said it. Don't forget, this man wants to win an election. And he knows that some people are scared. He needs what he needs to do is like quietly luring them into the lion's cage. That's the strategy. Because look, these are powerful people. They've stolen a lot of money. They can sabotage this election.
Absolutely.
So how do you ease the bull
China shop
out of the China shop? How do you ease the bull out? You have to find a middle ground. Because look, the Buhari of some years back was haughty, straight, lacking diplomacy, rigid, no finesse. But you can see that some people have been working on him. They've worked on him tremendously, and the Buhari brand is doing very well in the political stock market. So now they've been working on him. So he knows what to say now. He knows what to say now. But look, this man, the Buhari that I know, the Buhari that I interacted with as a young journalist in my 20s, look, I will not believe this story. Because some of the greatest...
Will it be prudent for him to start saying he's going to probe?
No, don't forget, even John Oyegun came out just before this electionary season, you know,
I think
got on that way.
Also.
No, it's more than that. He said, Buhari is not going to probe past leaders because they know that those past leaders are jittery. They know they are worried. They know they are terrified. They are terrified as in terrified about this man. That if this man gets there, are we going to be able to stay in this country? Will he not send us to jail? You know how someone has been even campaigning that, look, he will jail everybody. He will be building prisons instead of schools. As if corruption is not such a big problem for us anymore. You know, let me the two biggest problems we have now in our country are corruption and insecurity. So if we must tackle corruption, it will be irresponsible to leave some of the most corrupt individuals in Nigerian history, to leave them alone and allow them to just be enjoying their loot. Of course, even after Abacha died, they didn't leave his family alone, did they? Mohammed Abacha, his son, was put on trial, and Nigeria recovered a sizable
chunk of that
sum of money from the Abacha family. Money stashed in different countries. Yeah? Jersey Island, countries that I had never heard of their name. Liechtenstein, you know, all of those countries. So, who says we should not, especially when we are going through tough times, who says we should not recover our loot from these people? Buhari knows what he's doing. You know, he said something some time ago that, look, we are not going to just be giving amnesty to criminals. That was interpreted to mean that he's against the amnesty program. Today, Buhari came out to say, no,
going to continue with the amnesty program in the Niger Delta.
So that if there were some people from that part of the country who naturally, because of that, will want to oppose his candidacy, they can have a rethink. So this is electioneering period. Yes. It's not everything that the people want to hear that you say to them.
You can't go to the South now and say you want to cancel amnesty program.
Yes.
Where all of our
if you do that, it will backfire. It will backfire. So you don't say everything. Let some of what you are going to do remain in your heart. But for me, I know that this man, what he said, honestly, I do not believe, except if he has totally changed. Buhari will not allow all of those guys to continue to enjoy their loot. That has to be a disservice to our country.
I agree very well with him, but I also want to add that, he said when he went to Chatham House that he's a changed person. He's imbibing with democratic principles. And what I also know that Buhari will do when he gets into, if he gets into power, let me use the word rather that way, is that institutions are definitely going to be strengthened, because it's not just like he realized that he's not the military man he used to be, so he's going to have to strengthen a lot of the institutions. I remember on this same program, they talked about the judiciary, that no matter how sincere you are, you want to nip corruption.
Somebody.
Yeah, you still need to carry the judiciary. So if it's the same judiciary we have, you might have it a difficult way. Exactly. Some of the persons that were prosecuted, it's not in Nigeria they prosecuted them. It dragged on for like forever until the person got out of Nigeria and he was arrested and prosecuted outside Nigeria. So I think
we had a case that was discharged
exactly. By the same person. So I think a lot of strengthening of the institution, but definitely politicians. I think from history, no politician will come out to tell you what he wants to do.
So everybody is playing to the gallery.
Exactly.
Now.
Everybody, no, you're trying to get votes. You want to get votes of the people, and the people you want to get their votes cut across different leanings in life. So you must not hurt one person because you want to get vote for another person. So you must strike a balance. Yes,
maybe so that I don't forget. In 1999, Sule Lamido was one of the most popular politicians in northern Nigeria. Remember, he had been persecuted even by Babangida himself and Abubakarimi, persecuted, you know, for their beliefs, political beliefs. And naturally, we expected Sule Lamido to win the Jigawa governorship easily. The state had been carved out of Kano, you know, and people were excited. And Sule Lamido, young at that time, and a fantastic orator, you know, still one of the best speakers that I know. But a little known politician in his 30s, Samino Turaki, defeated Sule Lamido easily. How did it happen? On the eve of the election, Sule Lamido was campaigning and he began to threaten the traditional institution. We are all these feudalists, we are going to deal with them. When we get into office, we'll teach them the lesson of their lives. We'll deal with them. And these people became worried, Ayo. They mobilized. They made sure that Sule Lamido didn't win, in spite of his popularity. So if you were planning, if you had good plans to rein these guys in, because the traditional institution, largely they are parasites, let's tell ourselves the truth. If you are planning to deal with them, limit their influence, why don't you just keep it in your heart? Why do you go around campaigning and saying it? They still have a grip on their people, especially in northern Nigeria, you know? So that was a mistake that he made. And I'm sure that the Buhari handlers still have a mental picture of what happened back then. And they will be telling him, look, there are certain things that I shouldn't say. Let's not put all our cards on the table. You know? Yes, let's not play into the hands. Let's not play into the hands of the enemy. So that's
I mean, for him to go to the South today and even extending it, you know, saying that he was going to continue with the amnesty program. You know, he was in Port Harcourt today. He continued his campaign in Port Harcourt, and you want to look at. He's trying to get a chunk of his vote from the South.
If you follow the history of the political history of Buhari to the present time, and watch his lecture at Chatham House, you know that Buhari has changed. I was telling some of the handlers that that was the best Buhari that I saw at Chatham House. The way he discussed the issues, his understanding of the issues, the way he answered the questions, his gait, his presentation, very much presidential. You know, that shows that Buhari is ready for the big stage.
A debate in Nigeria.
For the big stage. No, that's not the issue here. You see, there's a famous quote in America. Read my lips. Read my lips was said by President George Bush Sr. when he promised the conservatives, I will not raise taxes. When he became president, he raised taxes and he lost to Clinton. So politicians are bound to make promises they cannot meet eventually. You know, so I see this statement for Buhari in the same context. You know, I don't. You see, Buhari is bringing to the table and it's not being corrupt.
Anti-corruption.
In personality. There's a saying in the campaign of Buhari now, that when you are in the same room with Buhari, you behave. Some of the campaign handlers were telling me that when you are with him, his man is that upright. When you are sitting down with him in the same room, you behave. So it's not apart from dealing with people that are corrupt, the fact that the man is bringing his personality shows that this man is ready to do the job. And leadership is from the top. If you demonstrate it enough, others will follow. So I believe he has been told to be very careful, to be more circumspect in the way he speaks, because some interest may be disturbed. I'm going to block him from being the president. I think we should look at that statement.
On the other side, Jide, a lot of people feel that our biggest problem, our biggest challenge now is corruption, tackling corruption. And they say this administration might not have done enough in the fight against corruption.
Yes, it's there for all to see. The administration has not done enough to fight corruption. And President Jonathan continues to send confusing signals, you know, about his commitment to the war against corruption. Beyond what his ministers are doing that people can see, the acquisitive tendencies of some of his ministers, like the one who calls himself Elder Godswill Rubebe, blatantly corrupt, you know, and the woman who is the oil minister, indicted severally by the National Assembly, showing utter contempt to them, refusing to even go and face them, you know, refusing to defend herself. So it's very irritating for people to see, in the midst of poverty, grinding poverty in our country, for us to see politicians, people who work for the president, throw so much money around, stealing as if there's no tomorrow. Definitely, people can't be happy. And they can see it. This is one of the reasons why Buhari, who has contested 3 times and lost clearly, not that it was rigged out, now suddenly becoming the man to beat. Because he's there, all the opinion polls show that he's the man to beat. There's no doubt about it. And he's now making the PDP look like the opposition party, crying over spilled milk, crying like a little baby robbed of his candy, you know, complaining about virtually everything. Those are signs of desperation.
Absolutely.
Those are signs of confusion. Those are signs that you are really, really terrified. So the reality is, a new government, if a new government will take over, you know, on May 29, we need to make Nigerians happy. And one of the ways to make Nigerians happy is to cut off these areas of waste and fight corruption head on. You need to see where presidents are fighting corruption. You need to see where presidents are making speeches that show how unhappy they are about the level of corruption in their country. President Atta Mills in Ghana, when that scandal of the young woman, the minister who was saying, when I become, this is my plan, I'm going to take this money, I'm going to do this, and the president was embarrassed. He spit fire. You could, his eyes were blazing. He was very angry.
You know? Let me quickly take this breather. When we come back, we'll talk about President Goodluck Jonathan with General T.Y. Danjuma and his visit to Ogun State.